no big deal.
But that's why I'm really curious about your collection. I'm sure some are as simple as that, but others maybe.
1 second. I'm just gonna make sure we're online. We're online. You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Great.
All right. All yours.
All right, thanks for coming today to the CITP Lunchtime Seminar. Today, Günes Acar will speak to us about the fingerprintability of Tor hidden services. Günes has done quite a bit of work on this topic. He was a PhD student at KU Leuven in Belgium before coming here. He's now a postdoc at CITP. And his previous work also looks at using machine learning techniques to do things like website fingerprinting attacks on the Tor anonymity network. If you don't know what that is, I'm sure Günes is going to give us a little background on that in his talk today as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Nick. So just joined work with Becca and Rachel from Drexel and Nadia from KU Leuven, there used to be. So it's like year 2017, but so state of the let's say private web browsing is not very good. So you visit websites and your DNS information, the business sites you visited, mostly just available to anyone just eavesdropping on this line. The ISPs monetizing this traffic, or other more nefarious adversaries. So what can you do about that? You can use an anonymity network like Tor. You know, Tor is the most popular anonymity network with daily a few million users. It's quite a lot, actually. So which hops your traffic through 3 relays around the world so that a local adversary cannot see where you go. And then the website just don't know where do you come from, like what your IP address is. So it's pretty good for defending against most adversaries, but there are, of course, some attacks against Tor. One I'll focus on is website fingerprinting attacks. So this is different than what Stephen Arvind and I study, like browser fingerprinting is totally different. So it's more like looking into network traffic and trying to guess which website the user or the victim visits. So if you know Tor, it encrypts the packets. So basically, you cannot look into these packets, and packets are padded. So there are some like defenses, but the adversary can still do that. So it can look into the victim's traffic, and it can compare this network traffic fingerprints to a database that he collected himself. Okay, so the adversary visits these sites himself, just capture the network traffic and extract some fingerprint based on these traffic patterns, and then compares the victim's visit and try to guess which website they visit. So what kind of features they can use? So you can use quite a lot of features actually. There are some works like coming up with a few thousand features, but mostly it boils down to number of packets, average packet size, number of incoming packets versus outgoing packets, or the timing. Okay? Like how the timing of the packets or the order basically can be used to differentiate one fingerprint, one network traffic of a site from another. So yeah, adversaries can basically guess which site you visit by using that while you are assuming that you are protected. So our study focuses on onion services for a reason that I will explain now. But so just a few words on onion services, or hidden services as they used to be called. Hidden services are like special, let's say, websites or services that run on Tor network. So they are only reachable through Tor. Okay? And this gives the ability for the publishers to hide the location of their servers. So if you want to, let's say, set up a whistleblowing site and you don't want to expose where your server is for reasons such as security or the privacy of your users, you just set up a hidden service. For example, DuckDuckGo search engine, or SecureDrop, or WikiLeaks, and many others have hidden services. SecureDrop is the actually one of the motivations for this study. So this is like whistleblowing platform for to leak files or content to journalists, and so this may be target of, let's say, more powerful adversaries. But it's not limited to that. For example, just 2 weeks ago, I guess, or last week, New York Times started their own hidden service or onion service, and so there are other newspapers such as ProPublica or I guess Guardian running their own onion services. So let me explain this website fingerprinting attack in this context. When you really think about attack, there are millions of websites in the world, maybe billions. The success of the attack really depends on what kind of world, what kind of universe you consider. So if you consider like a site with billion pages, you are more likely to get collisions. So this study and like a previous study is actually focused on fingerprinting only hidden services or onion sites. The reason is, so this is a very nice closed world of just a few thousand sites. So there isn't like millions of hidden services in the world. It's just a few thousand. We know that, and classifying the traffic to this just a few thousand sites is a much easier problem. And so let's think about like how do we know that? So before limiting ourselves to the onion service attack, so we should know if this user is visiting a hidden service or not, because otherwise we will still need to classify against the millions of websites. But there is this paper from 2015 from MIT researchers which showed actually you can easily classify this circuit creation stage and tell that this user is visiting an onion service with like a 99% whatever accuracy, very high accuracy. So first stage of the attack, you just know that this user is going to visit the onion service based on how the circuits are constructed, because the hidden services are use like a different circuit pattern, let's say, and then carry out the closed world attack with just a few thousand steps. So the point of this paper is not coming up with a better fingerprinting attack. There are many studies on like basically developing accurate classifiers with more and more accuracies, performing better in the larger worlds. So we just take 3 classifiers, state-of-the-art classifiers or attacks, fingerprinting attacks from the literature. So first one is K9 from Wang et al. So this classifier considers 3,000, more than 3,000 features, I guess, and uses K9 to classify websites. So the features include the total size, time, number of packets, for example, number of, let's say, or like order of packets and rows. The second one, actually this is with the highest accuracy in the literature. This is Kummel from Panchenko and others. So this uses like a RBF SVM and like a different feature set, which basically takes the traffic volume divided into interpolation points. Like for example, what are the total size of packets at a point in time. And the last one is KofP, or Fingerprinting from last year. So this combines a random forest classifier with KNN. So instead of feeding the features into the KNN directly, it just takes the results from decision trees and feeds that through KNN and use the Hamming distance as the distance between the neighbors. So it kind of combines the random forest with the KNN. These are quite, like high accuracy classifiers from the literature, as I said. So for this study, first we need to collect some data to run this classifier and kind of assess the accuracy of this attacks. So we actually visited like 482 onion services, 7 visits each, Like you need more data for the classifiers too. So we collect this data, PK class, packet details, page source, screenshot, and the HTTP response and request, like their size, timing, and all. We use an automation library that we are maintaining. If you are doing any kind of Tor study, unit automation, you can use that. So based on this data set, we ran the classifiers from the literature and come up with this accuracy, like results. That come up with the results. So it's again like almost like 500 such closed world, and so the accuracy change between like 69 to 80%. So in addition to that, we also added an ensemble classifier, basically taking the output of these 3 classifiers and then coming up with an ensemble classification. So instead of taking the max, the most confident classifier, we take the P1, like prediction 1 minus prediction 2, the confidence between the first and second classification, which worked out best for us. So basically, we check the output of the confidence of the 3 classifiers and take the one that has the most difference between the first and the second guesses. So adding that, we just kind of slightly better than Kumul, but what we want to know is, and like, this is the distribution of the accuracy results. So like Kumul and the ensemble is the best. So like the higher accuracy sites are more on the right. But so this is where most of the, like almost all of the fingerprinting papers stop. Like, okay, I come up with this cool attack, and this is the average accuracy of my cool classifier. But what we want to know in this paper is, let's focus on individual websites. So maybe the average is like very high, but you have some websites that are classified better or worse. So you really, as a publisher, you only care about your own website. So we want to answer these questions, like are certain websites more susceptible, and what makes a page or website more fingerprintable than the others. Okay, more like a feature analysis. So when we say fingerprintable, we use the F1 score instead of just using precision or recall. So V is the harmonic mean of the precision and recall. So it's kind of like captures both precision and recall. Let's say you have a secure drop website. Like 4 of the 5 visits are classified as secure drop. You have like 80% accuracy or recall. And this captures how well my instances or my visits identified as me. But there can be other websites which classify as you, and this basically reduces the precision and then the F1 score. So we should consider the both precision and recall, which is captured by F1 score. So when we look at this 3 classifier, KNN, KFP, and KMUL, so we see that some sites are safe from all the attacks. So this is a Venn diagram of the classification errors, misclassifications or confusions, right? So 30% of the sites are classified or misclassified by all 3 classifiers. And so then we check if when they make an error, and when they misclassify, do they make the same prediction or not? Like they classify the same site as another site or not? And we see that like 2% of the errors are, in 2% of the cases, 3 classifier made the same mistake.
Question about your classifier. So is there a don't know class?
No, there's not.
So basically an error is a misclassification of the site.
Yes. Yeah.
So actually this graph here, I think, suggests that if you had a don't know class for your classifier, you could have an ensemble that only predicts when all the classifiers agree, and its recall might be lower, but precision is going to be extremely high because it's rare that you misclassify through all the classifiers in the same way.
Yeah, in the same way. Yeah, right. So you can, So I guess like most of the time, yeah, it's just like considering the close roads, like it to be comparable. But yeah, like the classified or verified or like more abstaining classifier, I guess like that's better. Yeah, so these are the resources common to all, and so these are really failed in like different ways. But again, like so our goal is not really like coming up with a better solution, but looking into errors, looking into how they fail, and trying to come up maybe with the defenses. So this is a confusion graph of this like all these classification errors. So like each node in this graph is a website, a data service. Each edge is a misclassification. So like that means this site here is misclassified very commonly as this other site. Like all these edges are again misclassification. So like here we see, for example, a website. This is just example. DuckDuckGo classified as secure drop misclassified. So we see, for example, ellipses, which means like a site A and B are misclassified as each other very commonly, very frequently. We see some communities as detected by the Leuven community detection method. So these let's say clusters are more commonly classified as each other, so they're like much more like incoming and very strongly linked. So what are the, for example, some properties? We actually looked into some of these communities and saw that they differ by size. Some of them are like bigger sizes, some of them are very small sizes. And actually, if you look into the misclassification patterns, let's say for predicted site, take the median incoming packet size, so more or less like a page weight. Okay, so. And the true site here. So you see, like the most classification errors are concentrated on the y equal to x, like a diagonal line, which means if a site is misclassified as another one, it is most likely that their size is very similar. So size and another feature, that the staticness, like being static and not changing between visits, is a good predictor. So for example, let's look into that. So so this is the incoming packet size, more or less the size of the site again. And this is the fingerprintability score, like F1 score that we got for each site. So we see, for example, like a right bottom here. So big sites are very likely to be fingerprintable. Like if you're a big site, there is no chance that you are misclassified. You are always fingerprinted almost perfectly. So for the small sites, they are more concentrated on the lower left, which means they are less fingerprintable, but still there are some that are fingerprintable. And if there's, so this is like vertical lines, that means if this size is similar, they are more likely to be less fingerprintable compared to each other.
Question. I assume that, like, when you're referring to packet size throughout the talk, you mean the size of the whole page?
Yes.
Okay, because that's bytes. And then are you basically counting, what are you counting as the page? Is it like just the index, or is it all embedded objects
So
plus the index, or what's the size that you're talking about?
So the packet size is just the, not even looking at to like a HTTP level, just the packets you receive from the card back to the top line. So that includes everything, all the resources on the web page.
Just everything.
Everything.
And you're just summing them up, basically.
Yeah, they're just some. So we'll have more like a site level features in the rest of the talk. So this is like more like low level network level features versus fingerprintability. But the second part of the feature analysis is more like site level features.
My question was, like, what does the distribution of website size look like, right? Like, are the large sites fingerprintable because there's not a lot of them, and so, you know?
Yeah, that's a very good question, which we actually considered a lot. Yes, mostly. So this is actually, you can even get from that. So most of the time you can find like a size-based collision for the big sites. Yeah, so they are like a kind of quite rare. So they, so that's definitely could be an explanation. Like basically you cannot get similar size, so you cannot get collisions. So one problem actually we had during the data analysis is like really if you want to compare across a feature, let's say size or some other features that we'll be covering, so you can actually find enough of the samples on each site to have like a confident comparison. So what I mean, so like size was one of them, but still like we had some mid, let's say, size sites that are kind of in between. But yeah.
Are you binning a size at all in your feature, or is
this one is not
treated as a continuous variable?
This is continuous. Okay. So if you're looking, for example, so if you take like a total packet size for the sites, and then like if we have a distribution because we have like multiple visits to sites, like 70 visits to each site, then if you take like outliers, like a turquoise outliers, we see that outliers are more likely to be misclassified, like 3 times more likely. So if you have some like a different visits, like a so different size visits to each site, so this is more likely to be misclassified. And actually, if you look into how much each instance deviate from the mean by the z-score, we see that like misclassified instances are more likely to be a bit more like slightly more deviated from the mean. But yeah, so maybe related to the next question. So like really, if you want to base some defenses, if you want to like develop some defenses, you cannot really make much out of this because like we design web pages, so maybe you can really change the site level features like resources, font scripts, or the number of let's say fonts on your website, but you cannot really fine-tune the network traffic of your page. So then we try to really determine what characteristics of the web page determines the fingerprintability. So we use them like a meta learner for that, which as an output it takes fingerprintability, as an input, as a features it takes like site level features. So based on different website features, it tries to predict which sites are like more likely to make you more fingerprintable or less. And these are the features we use for these meta classifier. So it includes like number of HTTP requests, responses, like page weight, which is like an incoming like HTML size, size of the screenshot, number of like waterfall phases, like how many times you switch between requests to responses, and we also try to see if you, for example, using a different CMS like WordPress, change fingerprint or not, or even like having an analytics library. So again, if you just look into like HTTP download size, the 50 most fingerprintable sites and 50 least fingerprintable sites, compared across these 50. So we see that standard deviation is much lower for the fingerprintable, which means if you're a more dynamic website, you are less likely to be fingerprintable. And if you are if you check the size of the download size, medium size, so you see that like smaller the size is less likely to be fingerprintable. Okay, so like the dynamism and the size seems to be the most important. So if we plot like information gain for these features, like some of these like kind of not very intuitive. For example, the size of the screenshot is like a byte. Like it maybe captures like how complex visually your site is. It's not like dimensions, but really the size as like a PNG compression. And but like for example, number of like HTTP download size or HTML source size, and so these gives a lot of information gain between like a fingerprintable or not fingerprint sizes. So if you're looking, for example, how your website visually changes, like the standard deviation, it also captures for example, the small size or not like the largest size. Security drop size had like a very, very high fingerprintability score in our database. Although there are some like a duplicates, basically like a security drop size with tomorrow is the same design. So it doesn't offer much real protection. So we've been actually talking to the Freedom of Press Foundation engineers about that. So they've been like taking this seriously. But there is other problem of even if you like protect against like a fingerprinting of a landing page, someone uploading like a big chunk of data is a bit like quite still very fingerprintable, and most of the fingerprinting studies, website fingerprinting studies, like do not look into this like interaction phase. Yeah, to conclude, so these are pretty successful attacks on hidden services, and so some sites are more fingerprintable than the others, and we try to understand why. And if you want to avoid these attacks, you just make your site small and more stable. And that's all. People take questions.
Quick question on your adversary. Maybe this is a silly question, but some of those features you listed, like the number of stages in your waterfall or the number of objects, if the only thing your adversary can see is the encrypted traffic going over a tunnel, they're not going to see individual requests, right? So who's your adversary wouldn't have access to that feature. So I was trying to figure out